Well, there's plenty of room
This,
there on the left.
there, I actually had went through that with this, and so I just figured it, I wrote 10 right there.
You can't see it.
I just figured that,
10 Sephiroth.
I figured that was given.
Combined.
Yeah, 10 combined. 10 combined. And we just said that the light of Ben was the first time all 10 Sephiroth were
You're good on the details.
emanated at one time.
You're so good on the details. But we need a topic sentence once in a while.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Next. This is important, Russell.
Okay.
And he even says, an important point. Necessary to mention is how
Unpause it.
Yes, it's going good.
it is necessary to point out how the lights of the mouth emanate in the first place, as well as in the second place. Because I know he would, 1, 2. Normally, the revelation of the Sphirot emanates from the top, or Keter, to the bottom, Malchut. And in that order.
Bless you.
Here in the mouth of Ak, all 10 Sphirot in one vessel, the order is reversed. The initial Sphirot to emanate first was Malchut. Malchut came out first,
This is the bottom.
and Keter came out last. The Malchut of Akudim emanates first from the mouth of Ak, and was the last Sphirot to re-enter upon the return of the Or Pinimi within.
Now, what was the first?
Malchut was first.
First in being what? First to enter?
Yeah, like it went Malchut, Yesod, Netzach, Hod.
You know,
Out
this
of the
whole
mouth.
thing, and I almost got it in my head.
It telescoped out.
It is a telescope.
Yeah.
It's a cone.
It's a
if you
cone.
took a thing, and the cone that comes in and comes out.
Right.
Because what we're looking at there is if you looked at it and it was all in a line,
Mm-hmm.
is what we're trying to look at. It's coming out, and that's one direction, and then back in, and it all goes that way.
Yes. So when it comes back out the second time, guess what's
First.
the top?
But this coming out the other side.
When it comes out the other side, it is Keter on the top and Malchut on the bottom, and that's how it stays.
Well, I understood everything, but coming out the other side,
Yeah,
where did we get it?
Well, the metaphoric other side. There is no other side.
There's no- like a back-
It's this.
No.
If you look at this, you see this here? This is telescoping out. So right here is Malchut, and telescopes back this way, and it's
It's
Keter. This thing, this. If you're looking at,
Oh, the
we're looking
bark,
at it
that's the
frontward,
bark.
but if we looked at it sideways, we see it coming out, and then back in, and then.
You ever
back
seen
and forth.
the old TV antennas?
Mhm.
Okay, if he breathed the antenna out, phew, that way, the first thing that went in would have been Malchut,
Right.
and the last thing that would have went in would have been Keter. All right, so when he breathed it back out.
When he breathes in.
Yeah. When he blows it back, the next time he does it the other way. Keter goes first. In other words, here, let me go through. The Malchut was the first emanation out of the mouth.
Right.
And it was the last Sphirot to re-enter upon the return. So it was the first one going in, and the second time it was the last one going in.
So like inhale and exhale.
Watch.
The first shall be last.
Okay, all right. Now, we're going to get to it. I drew it right here. It goes this way. It goes in this order: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chayda, Yechida. Hey, Malchut, Vav, Ma, Neshama, Sag, Vav, Av. Okay, but when it goes back the next time, it goes in, when the penny comes back in, shoop,
Goes
it
in
go-
reverse
it goes in
order.
reverse order. Yes. It's a flux. Shoop, God, like that. Okay? Now, all right. When the Malkut emanated, it manifested the initial life force of the level called the Nephesh. Remember up here we had, because Nephesh was up here with Agulim and the Ruach was with Yosher. Malkut was followed by Yesod, Yesod by Hod, Hod by Netzach, until all 6 Sefirot of Ma emanated. These 6 emanations, an initial life force level of soul, called the Nephesh, into themselves. At the same time. The Nephesh of Ma, Sefirot, became the Ruach level of the soul of Malkut. Watch. This is very difficult. If Malkut on the bottom has the Nephesh level, as soon as the Midot get its Nephesh, it gets its Ruach. As soon as Bina gets its Nephesh, this one gets its Ruach, this one gets its Neshama. So in other words, it's just drawing them out. As the Nephesh moves up, the next one shows itself. So for Chokmah to have Nephesh, this one's got to have all the other ones, all these other 4. It's got to have Chaya, Neshama, Ruach, and Nephesh, and so on and so on. And that means this one would have everything. So it goes Nephesh and as he's pulling it up, it's like extracting. It's like pulling all these through a string, and it's going. Boop, 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 boop.
It's that telescope again.
Yeah, it's a
different
telescope
levels,
again, okay?
levels of the telescope.
And
And
there's
Nephesh-
10 levels on it. It's very specific. All 10 of those rings are the 10 levels, and you can pulls from inside of itself out.
Out. It pulls from within itself to within itself, because it's creating this within itself. But they're calling it outside of Ak, but there's nothing outside of Ak.
Right.
It's metaphorically speaking. All
I
right?
mean, we're thinking of it like, that it's, when you think of a telescope or you think of something like, you're thinking that it's within something.
Those are the levels of.
And that's the only way we can think,
Yeah,
because
these are the levels of the soul.
because we're within creation. It's the only way we can imagine it.
Yeah.
We can't imagine it separate.
Yeah.
We can't imagine it as one thing.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing as you cannot describe a house with one word. We can't think of anything from one aspect. This is the condition of duality. We got to have it. So even when we look at this, and see it within something else as a telescoping deal, we're still imagining it in duality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the nature of the beast. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
We can't do it any other way. So that's kind of the confusion of this.
That's what makes it difficult.
Yeah, because we're trying to explain something in singularity when our minds cannot conceive singularity. But that's the exercise.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like you say, why can God build a stone that he cannot lift? No, but he does it anyway. So this is the same concept. Can we see something in singularity? No.
No.
But we try to do it anyway.
It's the same concept Richmond was going over of it fits in there, it doesn't fit in there, the whole nation fit in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
See, this is where he's getting at.
Was it just different levels?
Yeah, it's different. It's a different.
Is it closer to the heart of him or further out?
It's all it's all him.
Yeah, There's no near, no far, no north, no south. It's all in him. There's the left side of him is just as close as the right side of him. You know what I mean? So
But this is not a thing. This is a mindset.
yeah,
And we're describing it as a thing.
It's an understanding.
It's understanding. It's a formula. It's a formula which everything is
Yeah.
understood in.
No, we're fine.
Okay.
So,
All right, here we go. At the same time, the Nefesh Shema Sphero becomes the Ruach level for Malkut, as we just discussed. Now, it's very difficult. Hold on. Arms and feet and legs beside the vehicle. And we're studying Torah for the sake of heaven.
yes. Because there ain't no other reason.
When the Sphero of Binah of Akudim emanated, it too manifests the Nefesh life force soul into itself, which also served as a Ruach level for the soul of Ma, and the Neshama level for the soul of Malkut, which I just explained. So, with each containing revelation of the Sphirot out of the mouth of Ak, more and more did the lower Sphirot become full of all 5 levels of the soul. Every time, metaphorically breathing in and out. When Chokmah emanated, it manifested Nefesh, it to itself, Ruach to Bina, Neshama to Ma, and Haya to Malkut. Finally, when the emanation of Keter came out of the mouth, it manifested the Nefesh to itself. Ruach here, Neshama here, Haya and Yechaida. That's how they all got their stuff. But now, when it goes back the other way, Keter and Yechaida is up. And that's the way it will manifest itself. That's why when we study the souls, Malkut is always associated with Nefesh.
Exactly, yes.
Right. Because the first time it wasn't like that. He brought it back in, and then the second time it was like that. So, now, when the lights of Orpanim re-entered the mouth of Ak, the exact process occurred in reverse, which is what we just said. First, the light of Keter withdrew. So, if you'll look on here, I have a little arrow going out of all these and a K. So he's withdrawing the Keter, the highest point. See, you would think I have all that in there, but it's all on there.
It's all on there.
All right.
Did you come up with this by yourself?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Bravo.
Brilliant.
First, the light of Keter withdrew, leaving the place of the vessel of Keter empty. With this occurrence, 2 things happened. First, Malchut lost its second level of Malkif's soul, its Yechaida. Second, the light of Chokmah ascended into the vessel of Keter. Then, Chokmah returned into the mouth of Ak. Malkut lost the soul of Haya. Binah ascended to the vessel Keter. So it's drawing all of them into Keter. This process continued until eventually Malchut itself ascended into Keter and then into the mouth of Ak, as said above. This left an empty vessel that now need to be filled. What do we always say about Malchut? Malchut has nothing of its own. Like the moon has no light of its own. It has to be from Keter the sun. So this is the process of Malchut finally having a creation finally existing, but has nothing of itself. So all the potential of everything, every bug, every plant, everything in the world finally had its potential. Finally had its potential.
But it lives off the sun Keter.
But it lives off the light from above. So he's going to have to re-emanate again.
Would this include not only physical things like bugs and plants and people, but also like math, algebra?
Oh, absolutely,
counting,
absolutely. That's contained.
Science.
That's contained all in the Tantan, because
Because it's all in there.
because it's all in there.
Everything that we know, everything
Every
that
letter
will be
numerical.
known.
Yeah, everything.
Music is in there.
Yeah, everything that exists. And finally,
It's just there for us to
finally
discover.
has its first little gel cell. You know what I'm saying? A gel. I don't mean gel cell. I don't mean bars. I mean gel, like a coating. It finally has its first physicality. Being it has its first physical realm outside of Ak, which I want to say, let's say outside, which we know it's in, but outside of Ak, outside of the Ein Sof. He's finally pushed his light out and brought himself and made a barrier to where it can actually exist without it just going, right? So, let's continue.
Made a barrier, but he held on.
Yeah. It literally
Trace.
we are holding on by a hair thread of light from the Ein Sof. That's all we have. That's why the world is in such crap.
That trace, that little bit of trace, because he's so concealed, we're so concealed from him.
Yeah.
Or he's so concealed
Okay.
from us.
Let me see. Now when the line of opening ran his mouth, that process occurs. We went over that. There's two things happening. Lost is that, yeah. Now that the vessel has solidified by not having Or Pinimi within it, it was time for the light of Or Pini to return into the vessel of Akudim. However, the lights that left could not return as they were originally. They had to adopt a new order. If they had turned originally, it'd been the same thing they created last time. So he had to tweak it. Instead of the Sphirot emanating from Malchut to Keter, now the highest Sphirot would emanate first down through the last. The light of the first Sphirot returning to its vessel of Akudim was not the Keter. The light of Keter of Akudim was most sublime. In other words, it stayed up. That's why you can always say, oh, we can't talk about Keter because it's up there. If it were to return to its portion of the vessel of Kudim, then each of the other Sphirot would return to its previous portion, and the great influx of Poranim would again imbalance and now ordered relationship between light and vessel. In order to maintain integrity of the vessel, the Creator completely withdrew the light of Keter out of Akudim and never to return. The light of Keter of Akudim stayed hidden inside of Ak. So that's why I drew all those Keters going out back into Ak. The first light to return into the vessel of Akudim was Hokmah. The light of Hokmah took the place of Keter. The lesser light took its place in the higher Keter vessel, enabling the vessel to receive the light without overpowering it. You see what he's doing there? The light of Keter is too much, so he kept it. So that made Hokmah have to take its place. It could do that because with Keter removed, it could sustain itself. With Keter there, boom, no more.
It's just like if you looked at a light and then you turned away from looking at a light, you still see
Yeah.
that trace.
Right.
That, what is it, Hashmal?
Go stare out of the sun and close your eyes.
You'll still see it.
You'll see
That's-
it.
Right.
That's
That's
it.
that's the Reshimu,
That's the Reshimu, yes.
okay? The residue. Remember we studied
yeah.
about
Yeah.
the teheru, the hard spark, and it left a residue. Remember that? Okay. So now,
So
Where am I-
that is in your memory or your understanding or what? Where is that when you still see it?
It's in your eyeball.
it's like an imprint. Yeah, you're seeing it in your mind because your eyes don't see anything. Your brain sees the image.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
So it's the
That's
brain.
because when you dream, your eyes are closed.
Yeah.
Then you see it, so you only see with your mind.
Have you ever looked at the image of a flag in purple and yellow instead of red?
White and
The
blue.
US. Yeah, instead of red, white, and blue, it'd be in purple and yellows. And you just look at it for 30 seconds, close your eyes, you see the red and purple flag for a few seconds and then it automatically changes to red and blue and white.
Yeah, yeah, because your brain's programmed that way. Okay, let's continue. We'll never get through. In order to maintain the integrity of the vessel, the creator completely withdrew the light of Keter of a Q-Demon and never returned. The light of Pokemon took its place, and the integrity was thus established and solidified. The light of Bina took its place within the vessel Hokmah. This procedure continued until the light of Malchut entered the vessel of Yesod. Now, however, the vessel of Malchut was left without any light shining whatsoever. Of course, this cannot be, for without light of Malchut could not exist. Without Malchut, there would be no physical universe. Therefore, Malchut radiated a reflection of itself, its Reshimu, into its old vessel. This was enough for the vessel of Malchut to become full and maintain its integrity. The reason why the lights of the mouth of Og had to be withdrawn and replaced one step lower in intensity was for the sake to maintain stability in the form. Now, from on this high level, from on this high level is not anything physical or even close. Nonetheless, what we have here is the creation of a relationship between force and form, body and soul, light and vessel. Prior to this, both of these things existed, yet they were not in a proper relationship with one another, which would enable they both could not exist together and harmoniously. In thought, Sog of Sog the ears, this existed as potential and actual. In the heart, the Ma of Sog the nose, this existed as interest and desire. Now in the mouth, the bin of Sog, the relationship between Ak himself and the Ein Sof could be duplicated. Ak served as the garment of the Ein Sof. The vessel of the mouth serves as the garment of light within it. Thus, our physical universe reflects this duality. Our physical universe reflects the existence of the reality of lights of the mouth of Ak, although these lights are cloaked in numerous garments, which are the worlds that came forth after them. Our physical universe reflects the status of the vessels of Malchut after the return of the light. The vessel is there, but it lacks its own light. It only has which it receives from outside of itself. This is true of the structure of all physical matter that makes up our universe. To every subatomic root of all matter, there absolutely exists nothing. And that's what the scientists have found. They study string theory, they study quantum mechanics, and you know what they found? That there is nothing there. If you look into an atom and keep looking into it and zooming in it and zooming in and zooming in, there's nothing there.
Yeah. And then when you see that deal, it'll disappear and it'll appear.
Yeah.
And it'll be doing this, it'll be doing that.
So we have proved this through quantum mechanics. Of course, this is this nothing is a sustainable entity, but it is not the substance that exists in our universe. The nothing underlying our physical universe is the Keter of Malchut, which in this case is the expression, the aspect of non-corporeality universe that underlines our. Let's see. Remember that all the talk about Ak is really all the talk about Keter. Okay? All the talk about Ak is talk about Keter. Keter is the divine will. Therefore, when we discuss these metaphors, we are in essence revealing how the divine will manifested its invisible essence into a visible form. When we imitate this process, we too can create and destroy a universe. After the vessel of Akadim was solidified with the light of the lesser Sphirot inhabiting the vessel of the Sphirot above it, all of this level was complete. Now was to come the process of separating the Spherots into their own individual vessels. This would require further work beneath the mouth, which we will discuss in the next lesson. We have to leave the Sog of Ak and travel beneath the waist into the worlds of Nekudim and Berudim. And this is going to actually be the eyes. And this is forming the beard. The whole structure. Now, before we go, to show you that all this exists today, that it is not so far out there, the word for ears, let me get this over here where Chad can see. The word for ears, Odzin, Aleph, Vav, Zayin, Nun, is 64. If we take Sog plus the ear, value of the ear itself, we have 64. So the name even goes back to Sog of Ak, how we call it today in Hebrew. Now, if we look at the nose, Hotum, Het, Vav, Tet, Mem equals 63. The Sog of Ma. The mouth, Pei. Pei is 80. Hey is 5. That is 85. If we take Sog and the 22 letters of the alphabet, we get, because the mouth speaks the Aleph Bet. So if we take Sog, you hear it, and you speak it, it's 85, which is what mouth is called today. This is Pei. So the actual Hebrew names of these structures go all the way back to Adam Kadmon and Akudim. Very cool, huh? Mm. Now, these are what is called the lights of Ahaf. This is the ears, nose, mouth. And that is the class for today. So, this while we're here, anybody has anything, let's see. One note, because, you know, Yesod here is the value of 6, and we're going to find out Noah was Yesod, Joseph was Yesod, Samson was Yesod. A lot of men are this Sphirot here. Yesod means tzaddik. Tzaddik means righteous. All of the tzaddiks only were gestated 6 months in the womb. Moses only was 6 months in the mother's womb.
Is that 3 months old before he was put into? That's interesting because then it was 3 months before he was put into the basket.
Probably because he was a preemie.
Mm-hmm.
So, now, tzaddiks, all the tzaddiks.
On Sadiq.
Yeah, all the tzaddiks are preemies. So, if you know somebody that has a 6-month-old preemie, there's probably a soul root there.
That's why I always would get me so mad at Connie.
Okay, does anybody, now, is everybody getting it to some degree? You're getting it?
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to all kind of come together, isn't it? Are you getting it?
Very, very slightly.
Okay,
I
good.
got really discouraged